And that ninyo na binulsa nyo lang ang pera, end of quote. May I just ask, but before you proceed that, may I just, at least for your, slide number 14, using of course, the letters previously presented. This now, to me, should refer to, hindi yan, yung isa. Yan. Slide number 14 to 15, yan. Ayan po. Can you read it for the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Uwahi, unprogrammed appropriations, huwag ibulsa.
So my question is, may I just ask, if you agree that funds for unprogrammed appropriations that are pocketed or stolen gives unprogrammed appropriations a bad name?
A very bad name, Your Honor.
Okay. So President Marcos Jr. in the same SONA actually provided a glimpse of budget reforms that he wants to put in place to address the abuse, misuse, or misappropriation of public funds when he said that, and I quote, in the same SONA, therefore, for the 2026 national budget, I will return any proposed general appropriations bill that is not fully aligned with the National Expenditure Program. And further, I am willing to do this even if we end up with a reenacted budget. Hindi ko aprubahan ang kahit anong budget na hindi alinsunod sa plano ng gobyerno para sa sambayanang Pilipino, end of quote. May I just ask them, if you know, if President Marcos Jr. starting with the 2026 GAA actually made good his promise about initiating certain reforms in the budget process?
I believe so, Your Honor.
And you claim that unprogrammed appropriations function as a special appropriation contained in the GAA. Is that right?
I'm sorry,
According
sir?
to you, unprogrammed appropriations function as a special appropriation contained in the GAA. That is your statement. Do you recall?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct, Your Honor. That I recall that statement.
Okay. So are you saying that instead of resorting to what is provided in Section 25.4, that's slide 6, Article 6 of the Constitution, wherein a separate special appropriations bill should be filed to supplement the GAA, identifying specifically the available funding source as certified by the National Treasurer, that Congress can just include under unprogrammed appropriations, special appropriations?
The unauthorized appropriations are included in the National Expenditure Program submitted by the Executive to Congress. And Congress adopts it as part of the General Appropriations Bill and subsequently part of the General Appropriations Act. Whether or not that the inclusion or the funding of those unprogrammed appropriations are contingent upon certain conditions. If I may submit to Your Honors, the reason why there is so much difficulty is that we forget the fact that Congress has plenary powers over the budget. We must remember, sir, if I may say, that we are in a Republican state. In a Republican state, all power emanates from the people. And the Constitution is a limitation on the power of the state, on the power of government. And therefore, the limitations of the power of government must be contained in the Constitution.
Okay.
Now, the Constitution does not provide for the unprogrammed appropriation. And therefore, this is part of the power of the state to appropriate. And it is our respectful submission, Your Honor, that this is a plenary power of Congress, and that cannot be restricted, but it doesn't mean that the use of such power cannot be corrected, and that is why there is the power of this honorable court to correct abuses of discretion on the part of the branches of government.
Okay. When you talk about unprogrammed appropriations, which forms part of the NEP submitted by the President, usually there is no need for a certification from the National Treasurer about the availability of funds to cover those unprogrammed appropriations, is it not?
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
It
And
is
then
only
as
when they are
compared-
released that that certification is required.
Okay. And compared to a special appropriation pursuant to Section 25(4), you need a certification from the National Treasurer for the availability on the availability of funds for purposes of a law to provide for that special appropriation, is it not?
You are correct, Your Honor,
Okay.
but the assumption, I assume, is that the inclusion of the unauthorized and programmed appropriation with the corresponding sources of revenue, which is excess funds or excess collection and or loans, is the one that would take the place, in effect, of the special authorization or granted or required of special appropriation.
Okay, in other words, you prefer that ang program appropriations be in the NEP rather than to come up with the special appropriations that would supplement the national budget.
I have no preference, Your Honor.
Okay.
The fact is that it is there, and we did not create that.
Okay, for many years, unprogrammed appropriations have been included in GAAs since 1989, and you claim that its legitimacy arose only, the questions, on its legitimacy arose only after a marked increase in the said appropriations as compared to the NEPs. So are you saying that if the unprogrammed appropriations were not increased, there should have been no issue regarding the inclusion of these unprogrammed appropriations in the GAAs?
In my submission, Your Honor, in my opinion, there is no question of the inclusion of unprogrammed appropriation. It is in the process of implementing
Okay.
the unprogrammed appropriation where questions legitimately arise.
Okay. If you knew, because of reports already regarding the misuse of these unprogrammed appropriations for flood control projects, if you knew that the amounts allocated for unprogrammed appropriations will just be pocketed, will you still advocate for these appropriations to be included in our GAAs?
I am not advocating for anything. What I'm just saying is the power to include unprogrammed appropriation is a power of Congress.
Okay. So, what safeguards, if any, should be put in place to prevent the misuse of funds placed under unprogrammed appropriations?
We have, number one, the check on the use on the utilization of the unprogrammed appropriation is the requirement that there should be an excess in revenue. The abuse committed by the executive branch is that instead of considering the whole revenue picture, they picked up on individual sources of revenue and on that basis authorized the release of unprogrammed revenue, which was the source of the corruption. Having said that, Your Honor, it is not because we have enough safeguards or mechanisms in our Constitution which should address these abuses. You have the COA, and precisely we are now witnessing the impeachment of the Vice President because it is a mechanism for accountability.
Okay.
And therefore, that is embedded in our Constitution, the mechanisms of accountability. Unfortunately, over the past decades, we have seen how the culture of impunity has prevailed, and therefore, you have abuses of authority because we have never enforced the law correctly.
Okay. It is your position that program appropriations and non-program appropriations must be separate in the GAAs. Do you confirm that? As a sound fiscal management measure. You mentioned that.
I'm sorry, sir, if you can rephrase.
You said previously that program appropriations and unprogrammed appropriations must be separate in the GAAs as a sound fiscal management measure. Do you confirm that?
I do not. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I do not recall having made that statement.
Anyway, that's part of my notes. But
Yes.
thank you, Mr. Senate President.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. May I call on Secretary Butchabat?
Morning, Justice.
Good morning. According to you, over the past 4 decades, the country registered budget surpluses only during a brief
Eight for purposes. There was a significant reduction, Your Honor, of the unprogrammed appropriations purposes.
Okay. Do you agree that if there are budget reforms that will be implemented, then this should cover not only unprogrammed appropriations, but also for program appropriations and automatic appropriations?
Yes,
Any
Your-
budget reform should
Yes.
cover all items. Do
Yes,
you
Your
agree?
Honor.
Okay. When the Constitution mentions about appropriations laws that must be enacted for the operation of the government for a fiscal year, there is no specific mention about dividing these appropriations into program, unprogrammed, or automatic appropriations. Do you agree?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it correct to say that both the Executive Department, the latter through the NEP, being submitted by the President, and the Legislative Department, the latter through the General Appropriations Bill, were the ones which determined the items in all GAAs? Is this not right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the Judicial Department encroaching then on the constitutional prerogatives of the Executive Department if the court declares unprogrammed appropriations as unconstitutional so that this could not be included in the NEP?
It is the humble submission, Your Honor, that it is not within the power of the judiciary to interfere in the power of the purse, with the exception of the power of the court under its expanded power to review, which is also very limited. And in the previous oral arguments that we had given the definition of what grave abuse of discretion is, we have also discussed what is the burden of proof that is required of the petitioners, which we submit that they have not satisfied the burden. And in fact, if I may say, most of the evidence and documents that have been provided in this case have been voluntarily provided by the respondents. Your
Okay. The submission of the NEP is a constitutional duty of the President, is it not?
The submission of the budget,
The budget, which is the NEP,
which is the NEP, Your
the
Honor.
President's budget. Yes, go ahead.
The requirement for the President refers to the submission of the BESF. And that is why the respondent's position is that the budget of expenditures and sources of financing would include the programmed appropriations and the automatic appropriations, while the unprogrammed appropriations are part of the NEP, which is for the purpose of complete report to the Congress of what will be the total appropriations for the year, Your Honor.
Okay. Are we also in the Judicial Department encroaching on the constitutional powers of the Legislative Department if we declare unprogrammed appropriations as unconstitutional so that this could not be included anymore in the General Appropriations Bill being prepared by the House of Representatives and which the Senate concurs or modifies through the committee reports coming from its Finance Committee?
It is our humble submission, Your Honor, yes, subject again just to the exception on the power of expanded review, which our position is that it does not amount to a grave abuse of discretion. There is no constitutional standard that is violated by the respondents in this case, Your Honor.
Okay. Can the funding for programmed appropriations be transferred to unprogrammed appropriations? If you know.
If it is the source of funding, Your Honor, I believe, no, I don't believe, but I know that the answer is no, because there are different sources of funding for the programmed appropriations, and they are targeted and they are committed by the executive, while the sources of financing for the unprogrammed appropriations are based on the special triggers identified in the GAA, Your Honor.
Okay. So likewise, can the funding for automatic appropriations be used to fund unprogrammed appropriations?
Technically, Your Honor, no, because, and I qualify technically because I always am reminded by our discussion with the DBM because of the cash management policy of the DBM that sometimes there is cash that is available and there is no longer a clear delineation of this is the cash that is coming from A and this is the cash that's coming from B. So, but technically, if it is just possible for the demarcation that this cash is coming from the identified sources under the BESF for the program, then the answer is yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is merging program appropriations and unprogrammed appropriations into one category, like singly programmed appropriations, financially sound?
I think, Your Honor, that it is not, because the unprogrammed appropriations entirely is based on something that the executive is not prepared to commit. And it is actually saying that it is not targeting, and the funding for the unprogrammed appropriations will be dependent on the excess of anyone in the non-tax revenue based on the latest GAA provision, Your Honor, because every year the triggers might also vary, Your Honor.
Okay. Year to year, although sometimes there are constant special provisions for unprogrammed appropriations. Is that not correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Generally, what former Secretary, Budget Secretary Jokno mentioned, generally they are the special triggers, Your Honor.
Okay. When it comes to unprogrammed appropriations, Congress has done at least three options. One, retain the amount in the NEP. Second, reduce the amount in the NEP. And third is increase the amount in the NEP. Of the three, which is more in line with what is provided in the Constitution regarding appropriation laws?
It is our position, Your Honor, that the unprogrammed appropriations are not part of what is required under the Constitution, and therefore the unprogrammed appropriations belong to the power of the purse, and therefore there is no violation or no standard that is being breached by Congress in the three possible actions for the unprogrammed appropriations, Your Honor.
So you're saying that Congress can decide to do whatever pleases them based on their own judgment regarding the amounts in unprogrammed appropriations? I
think, Your Honor, that the triggers will be the realistic parameters whereby Congress can determine what is the most appropriate action. So it is our humble submission, and we all expect that each branch of the government would not be arbitrary, would not be whimsical in their actions. So even if those three actions are possible courses of action by the Congress, I think the realistic economic factors, the realistic condition presented by the executive to the Congress during the deliberation process would also be a guide for Congress. We ask the kind indulgence of the court to also think of other alternative scenarios where, for example, there is a vindictive president that will limit certain purposes to his or her allies, or to purposes that are only viewed as important by his allies, and the Congress, being the representatives of the people, would be in a better position to know which are the purposes that they hope to find in the budget, Your Honor.
Okay. Are you aware on how fund releases or payments are made for programs, activities, or projects that are funded by public funds?
Your Honor, I have a general view, Your Honor, but the DBM would be in a better position to clarify the details, Your Honor.
Okay. If you know, is progress billing still the basis in releasing funds or payments?
Your Honor, may I confer quickly? Your Honor, the DBM representative confirms that yes, in infrastructure projects, it is still
Progress billings. Is it not?
implemented. Yes.
Okay. In these progress billings, if you know, are there receipts being attached as proof that there were really expenses for the progress in the completion of any PAP like a flood control project?
The DBM secretary confirms yes, Your
So
Honor.
if you say that as of today, a particular flood control project is 60% complete, there will be receipts attached to prove that it is indeed 60% complete?
That should be the case, Your Honor.
So do you agree that strictly requiring that these progress billings be closely monitored, that it will help lessen, if not eliminate, the abuse, misuse, or misappropriation of public funds for, among others, some program appropriations?
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct. In fact, the procurement laws, which we all know are very strict, and each agency is really doing its job to comply. I think our country has many laws, many regulations, many issuances from the departments, and if each person can just be honest and good public servants, I think, Your Honor, there will really be no problem.
Okay, that's why I guess you have to go back to the DBM as well as to the DPWH regarding these receipts that are supposed to be attached to any progress billing. I hope you're correct in saying that they actually attach it, because if these are really attached, then it's easy to know whether or not these are ghost projects, because receipts you can actually trace, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then perhaps you can look into that more closely, Madam Solicitor General.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Just my final query. May I know if any of the petitions pending now is asking to criminally punish those who prepared the NEP, who deliberated and voted on the GAB, and who signed the GAA and later implemented the provisions on the program appropriations?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And before we proceed to set the tone of my interpellations, with the permission of Justice Mon Hernando, allow me to show a slide that he presented with the letters IHUA, if you remember. That's the one. That stands for I hate unprogrammed appropriations. That's according to, of course, the presentation made by Justice Hernando. But as we Ilocanos, as well as all Filipinos, are very respectful, so I added the word po. So, which means I hate unprogrammed appropriations that are pocketed. So with that, I will be asking mostly, or a lot of leading questions. So a reminder to everyone, answerable by yes or no only, so as to expedite the interpellation that I will be making. So for the counsels of Representative Edsel Lagman, to be clear, the nullity and unconstitutionality of the unprogrammed appropriations as an appropriation item in the 2024 GAA, or General Appropriations Act, is not being prayed for by the petitioners, is it not?
That is correct, Your Honor.
When the petition of Edsel Lagman et al. Was filed, the so-called flood control project scams were not yet exposed, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
So it can be said that the filing of the petition essentially is not out of hatred for unprogrammed appropriations. Am I correct?
We confirm that, Your Honor.
Okay. By the way, any one of you can answer. No? Actually, no specific project, program, activity, or project, or PAP, in the unprogrammed appropriations for the 2024 budget was particularly questioned by petitioners Lagman et al. Is it not?
Not necessarily, Your Honor. I think the main contention of the petitioner in that petition is the fact that the amount was exceeded, Your Honor.
That's right. So it is only the excess of what was submitted by the President through its 2024 NEP that is being questioned by petitioners Edsel Lagman et al. Is it not?
correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And this is because in the NEP for 2024, the recommended amount of unprogrammed appropriations was in the total sum of about 281.9 billion. But in the general appropriations bill that came from the House, this was increased to a total of 731.4 billion, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, and the basis of Lagman et al. In questioning this increase is the provision of the Constitution, particularly Section 25(1), Article 6. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's slide number 5. So, by the way, there were excesses in unprogrammed appropriations in 2022 and 2023. So, among others, but the petitioners, EDSA Lagman, did not file, actually, a petition to assail these excesses in the unprogrammed appropriations, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
By the way, I have with me the exhaustive discussion on the history, concept, and purpose of unprogrammed appropriations. Do you have a copy of this one? This is a submission from the OSG, am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. We have already requested that one, Your Honor, to our clients, Your Honor.
May I just request the Solgen to confirm if this came from your office, part of your submissions? Exhaustive discussion on the history, concept, and purpose of unprogrammed appropriations, unless it did not come from you. If it did not come from you, may I know if you have a copy of this one?
Your Honor, may I have a copy and to check in our tracker because it's a long list of documents that we submitted.
Inserted the excess in unprogrammed appropriations. Is this correct?
Essentially, yes, Your Honor.
That is in your petition,
Yes,
actually.
Your Honor.
You're pointing to them, the two of them, insofar as the additional or excess in unprogrammed appropriations is concerned. So, is there any basis for this allegation of the petitioners?
Well, Your Honor, as previously alleged by in the petition, both the House and the Senate actually came up with similar outcomes in relation to the amounts of the GAA. And when it came out of the bicameral conference committee, that is when the unprogrammed appropriation bloated about 100%.
So the only basis is because after the deliberations on the budget for 2024, there was an increase that appeared, no, after the GAB was submitted. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, so just to be clear, Lagman et al., they are not blaming the entire Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, about this excess.
Yes, Your Honor, because as stated in the petition, Your Honor, the version of the lower house and the upper house in the General Appropriations Act is the same, Your Honor. It only, again, increased a very substantial amount, Your Honor, when it came out from the bicameral conference committee. So that is why, Your Honor, the previous congressman of the 1st District questioned the constitutionality of the unprogrammed appropriations as to the excess, Your Honor.
But the focus of the blame is only on the supposed, the alleged co-chairpersons of the bicameral conference committee. Is that correct?
Essentially, Your Honor, yes. However, Your Honor, if we may direct you again to the petition filed by Congressman Lagman, there are allegations there in relation to, but the court has already passed on it in relation to unprogrammed appropriations and securing funding for them through GOCCs.
Okay. So, going to another point, although unfortunately passed on, is it right to say that the late Representative EDSA Lagman and his co-petitioners, Representative Bordado Jr. and Representative Hataman, are not completely against unprogrammed appropriations except the excess? Am I correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So in all the years that the late Representative Lagman was in the House of Representatives, did he or even his co-petitioners here, if you know, ever file ever filed a petition before the Supreme Court or any court for that matter to question the constitutionality of unprogrammed appropriations?
We confirm, Your Honor, that the late Congressman Ed Salagman did not file any petition questioning the legality of unprogrammed appropriations because, as also stated in the petition, Your Honor, according to him, it is an essential component, Your Honor, of the budgetary process of the Republic of the Philippines.
So in other words, this is the first time, insofar as the 2024 budget is concerned, that Ed Salagman and his co-petitioners filed to question the constitutionality of the excess in unprogrammed appropriations.
We confirm that, Your Honor.
And yet there are, as I mentioned earlier, based on record, some excesses in unprogrammed appropriations in prior years. Do you agree?
It would,
And yet no petition was filed. Do you agree?
it would appear so, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
okay.
Yes.
So, on the bicameral conference committee, is it correct to say that the executive department, whether the Office of the President or even the Department of Budget and Management, the Department of Finance, or even the Office of the National Treasurer, they have nothing to do with the work of the BICAM committee or what it does when it comes to the national budget? Am I correct in saying that?
Your Honor, insofar as passing the national budget is concerned, we would agree, Your Honor. But in relation to the implementation of all of these programs under the GAA, then they would be participative.
But the
They would
question-
have participation.
Okay, but the question, Counsel, is do any of these executive officials or offices, executive department offices or officials, the Office of the President, the National Treasurer, the Secretary of the DBM, or even the Secretary of Finance, do they have anything to do with the work of the BICAM?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So in the petition of Lagman et al., they are not blaming the executive department about the 449 billion excess or insertion in the GAB or the General Appropriations Bill, is it not?
That is correct, Your Honor.
After all, this excess in the unprogrammed appropriations, as mentioned in your petition, did not come from the executive department, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, when referring to the budget in Section 25(1), which is there, you agree that this refers to the budget as provided in the NEP from the President, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
The word budget there refers to the NEP.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So the budget or appropriations referred to in Section 25 is not what is contained in the General Appropriations Bill or even in the General Appropriations Act as annually legislated by Congress, is it not?
It may not necessarily be the same, Your Honor.
Yes, but we're talking about the word budget there in Section 25. So it only pertains to the NEP, does not pertain to the GAB, does not pertain to the GAA. Is that
Yes, Your
correct,
Honor.
Counsel?
We agree, Your Honor.
It is the position of Lagman et al. While the Constitution does not distinguish the prohibition on increasing the totality of the appropriations per Section 25(1), this refers separately to both the program appropriations and the unprogrammed appropriations. Is it not? What the petitioners are saying.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so what is the basis in saying that? That the amounts prohibited to be increased should be reckoned or treated differently with respect to the program appropriations, meaning you cannot increase the program appropriations, and likewise you cannot increase the unprogrammed appropriations except instead of the entire amount of the national budget.
Your Honor, it is the position of the late Congressman Ed Salagman that both the program appropriations and unprogrammed appropriations cannot be increased because Section 25, subparagraph 1, Your Honor, did not distinguish, Your Honor, as to the budget that may not be increased, Your Honor. So it is also his humble petition that since the law did not distinguish, the legislators or the bicameral conference committee cannot also distinguish, Your Honor.
So in other words, the petitioners are saying that if the program appropriations is about 5 trillion, Congress cannot increase it. If the unprogrammed appropriations is, for example, 500 billion, Congress cannot increase it based on Section 25(1).
That is the position of the petitioners, Your Honor.
Okay, very well then. The insertions of the BICAM conference for the 2024 budget were both approved by the House of Representatives and the Senate separately in plenary, is it not? The question is, why is this so?
Your Honor, it is Petitioner Lagman and Hataman's submission, Your Honor, that it is part of, it contributes to executive flexibility, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm done with my interpellation with respect to your petition. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay. May I call on the counsel for Senator Aquilino Pimentel III and Pantaleon Bebot Alvarez?
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, counsel. Pimentel III and Alvarez are not asking that unprogrammed appropriations alone be declared unconstitutional, but rather the entire 2024 GAA or RA or Republic Act number 11975, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
And for Pimentel III and Alvarez, the 2024 GAA is unconstitutional because it violates Section 25(1) and Section 26. Section 25(1) is there. Section 26 of Article 6 is slide 7 of the Constitution, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor, among others.
Okay. As in the case of Lagman et al., when Pimentel III and Alvarez filed their petition even before, this was done even before the so-called flood control project scandal were yet in the news or even the subject of the State of the Nation address last July 2025 of President Marcos, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because of the petition filed by Lagman et al., we are now familiar with Section 25(1), of course.
Yes,
and
Your
of
Honor.
course, when it comes to Section 26, this pertains to Congress making sure, among others, that no bill shall be passed by it to become law unless it has passed 3 readings on separate days, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, in Section 26, is it not that this pertains to ordinary bills and not to appropriation bills?
Your Honor, the law stated in Section 26, Your Honor,
Section
states...
26 there. Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
It is, the wording is bill, Your Honor. Every bill passed by Congress, Your Honor. So, bill can encompass even this general appropriations bill, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
So it is your view that the requirement for an appropriations bill to be subjected to at least 3 readings should also be observed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. But you agree that there are separate provisions, particularly for appropriations laws, is it
Yes.
not?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, when certifying a bill as urgent then, is the President required under the Constitution to specify the public calamity or emergency to support such certification?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it not enough that a calamity or public emergency is mentioned so as to meet this requirement?
Your Honor, if it is mentioned, it is enough, Your Honor, declaration from the President.
Okay. If Congress then enacts a bill into law that has been certified as urgent by the President, but the public calamity or emergency was not specifically provided, then such certified as urgent law should be declared as unconstitutional, as is your position?
Yes, Your Honor. It's our position, Your Honor.
So whose fault is it then that supposedly improperly certified as urgent bills were enacted into law? Is it the executive branch, headed by the President, or the legislative branch who acted on such certification?
Your Honor, it's the executive branch, Your Honor, as embodied in our petition, Your Honor.
Are you saying that Congress can reject a certification done by the President for a bill to be enacted into law?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, if even if the Congress decided to act on such certified as urgent bill and enacted it into law, it should be the executive branch who should be blamed for such law?
Your Honor, it's the assessment of the executive branch, Your Honor, and it just so happens that we have a law, Your Honor, defining calamity, Your Honor, that could be interpreted also, Your Honor, by the Congress.
So even if Congress acted on an improperly certified bill, you're saying that when this is enacted into law, it should be the executive branch who should be blamed, no, for such law.
Yes, Your Honor. There's also the discretion part on the part of the Congress, Your Honor.
You know that law can be vetoed.
Yes,
And
Your
then-
Honor.
Or any veto, for that matter, can also be overturned by Congress as well.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. For the 2024 national budget, you confirm that the total amounts in the NEP submitted by the President and what are contained in House Bill number 8980, or the General Appropriations Bill from the House, and the committee report number 155 of the Senate are the same insofar as the amounts contained therein are concerned.
Yes,
Is it
Your
not?
Honor.
So when it comes to the national budget, the Senate does not come out with a counter bill. Do you agree with that?
Your Honor, if you mention the Senate, Your Honor, there's also this BICAM, Your Honor, that also has the Senate component, Your Honor. And the issue in this case, Your Honor, was the proceedings there which increased the amount in the unprogrammed appropriations, Your Honor. So I just want to clarify that.
But you know that with respect to appropriations laws, only the House of Representatives comes out with a version, like a House bill version, which is referred to as the GAB, and the Senate does not come out with a counterpart bill. Are you aware of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
So in other words, it's not similar to any kind of law wherein there is a bill in the House and then there is a counterpart bill in the Senate with respect to laws outside of appropriation laws.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So under Section 24, Article 6, that's slide number 4, all appropriations bills, among others, shall originate exclusively in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments. Do you confirm then that it is the House which principally determines appropriation laws and not the Senate,
Yes, Your Honor.
based on that constitutional provision, Section 24?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So if the Senate does not propose or concur with amendments with the appropriations bill from the House, and there are disagreeing provisions, if you know, what will become of the bill that will come from the House?
Your Honor, the House is equipped, Your Honor, to my knowledge, because there are numerous, Your Honor, other than the versus the numbers in the Senate, Your Honor. That's why this, I want to say that this is crafted this way, Your Honor. The constitutional provision is crafted this way because in the House, Your Honor, they are properly equipped by their numbers, Your Honor, to analyze, Your Honor, and to sift through, Your Honor, the NEP, Your Honor, prepared by the President.
Okay. If there is no BICAM committee, bicameral, no, conference committee, how will disagreeing provisions be addressed or settled by Congress?
Your Honor, I just want to point out, Your Honor, that the process, process within which you determine the change, Your Honor, actually the increase in the amount of unprogrammed appropriations, is not commensurate to the analysis, Your Honor, as given in the National Expenditure Program, Your Honor, and in the General Appropriations Bill, Your Honor.
Okay. I just want you to take note of Section 24 because that's also the subject, no, of your petition. Now, if you know, why did Pimentel III and Alvarez not file a petition before the Supreme Court to question the GAAs prior to the 2024 GAA, like in 2022 and 2023, where there were increases in the appropriations for unprogrammed appropriations?
Your Honor, to my knowledge, this is a stepwise increase, Your Honor, in the amount of and the bicameral conference committee, Your Honor, increased this, Your Honor, and excluded it in the total for the appropriations, Your Honor. Our position, Your Honor, is that it should not violate 25(1) of Articles 6, Section 25(1) of Article 6, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, but by the way, based on the records that I have, in 36 years, there were 8 GAAs where unprogrammed appropriations were increased. And it is on record that this is the first time that Senator Pimentel, Coco Pimentel III, and Alvarez, Congressman Alvarez, filed a petition to question any excess in unprogrammed appropriations. Is it not?
Yes, Your Honor. And this is a unique case, Your Honor, because they are excluding it from the total.
Even if it was passed without 3 readings in the House, it still went to the Senate, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then it was only after both chambers or houses have reconciled, perhaps even their disagreeing provisions, that eventually the enrolled bill was transmitted to the Office of the President sometime in December, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor. It
Okay.
was opposed by my client, Your Honor, Pimentel.
So in other words, it took a while eventually before this particular appropriations law reached the Office of the President.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Incidentally, is it correct to say that Pimentel III and Alvarez are not completely against unprogrammed appropriations, and they question the 2024 GAA because the excess in the unprogrammed appropriations is violative of Section 25(1), Article 6, and since the General Appropriations Bill was certified as urgent contrary to Section 26, Article 6, is it not?
Your Honor, I just want to point out that in the last 3 paragraphs, Your Honor, we mentioned Article 6, Section 25(4) of the 1987 Constitution, Your Honor.
That is with respect to the 3 readings.
That is with respect to the special appropriations, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes.
Your Honor, I just want to read again or state again that...
No, it's okay, Counsel. That's not part of my question.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Just curious. Since the fiscal year 2024 is already over, is Pimentel III and Alvarez still pursuing their prayer for the 2024 GAA to be declared as unconstitutional? It's already 2026, Counsel.
Your Honor, I think there is already precedent for this, Your Honor. In the PhilHealth case, Your Honor, it was ordered that the an excess, Your Honor, to be returned, Your Honor, in the subsequent or next General Appropriations Act, Your Honor, or the enrolled bill approved by the President. So, using that as basis, Your Honor, I think it is possible, Your Honor, but it is post, Your Honor, return, Your Honor, by way of appropriations, Your Honor.
So that to you is the benefit of having the 2024 GAA declared as unconstitutional?
Yes, Your Honor. And you're also so also that there may be precedent, Your Honor, that no, we espouse, Your Honor, that the increase in the appropriations was done here, Your Honor, in violation of 25(1) of Article 6, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Counsel. I'm done with my interpretation with respect to your clients. May I call on the counsels for Filipinos for Peace, Justice, and Progress movement, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So FPJPM is only asking to declare as unconstitutional the increase in appropriations to the special accounts in the General Fund or SAGF, and the DPWH Special Road Fund, which were not part of the 2025 NEP or the President's budget for 2025, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
So am I right in saying that these two items are under automatic appropriations?
Yes, Your Honor.
So the issue here is not about unprogrammed appropriations, but automatic appropriations?
That is correct, Your Honor.
So FPJPM, sorry Paborito ko si FPJ, pero hindi ko maano itong FPJPM is not asking to declare as unconstitutional unprogrammed appropriations in the 2025 GAA or RA or Republic Act number 12116. Is this not correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
The only concern of the petitioner, Your Honor, is
So-
the automatic appropriations, Your Honor.
So again, the SAGF for some agencies in the sum of 12.7 billion in addition to the 27.3 billion in the 2025 NEP or the total sum of 40.1 billion in the 2025 GAA is under the item on automatic appropriations. So as an item under automatic appropriations, it is your position that all agencies with SAGF or those given automatic appropriations should not be increased beyond what is provided in the NEP.
Yes, Your Honor, that is correct, Your Honor.
So why do you say this again?
Because, Your Honor, the basis for the creation of the SAGF, or the special account in the general fund, is provided under the special laws that were, whose funds were increased by Congress, Your Honor.
And, Your Honor, if I may add, and if any of those were increased, it will definitely exceed the national expenditure program as provided by the President, and therefore, it will violate Article 6, Section 25(1), Your Honor.
Okay. So what again do you mean by automatic appropriations not being required and annual legislative action by Congress?
Automatic appropriations, Your Honor, means the funds that were already designated by, earmarked by law for a designated purpose shall not be increased, shall not be touched by Congress.
So you're
unless-
saying if the proposal is, for example, the amount of SAGF to cover a number of agencies is about 1 billion, when you say this does not require annual legislative action by Congress, it means that amount should just be accepted as is without any increase or decrease?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if I may add, because there is already, the law has already provided for that amount, Your Honor, and therefore, it must comply with the requirement of these special laws that provide that this amount shall be earmarked for these government agencies.
Okay. Per the computation of FPJPM, the 2025 GAA reached 6.365 trillion, higher than the total sum of 6.352 trillion in the 2025 NEP, due mainly to the increase in the SAGF, is it not?
That is correct, Your Honor.
So still, it is the position of the FPJPM that the entire 2025 GAA should not be declared illegal and constitutionally defective, is it not?
Only with respect to the excess, Your Honor.
So why are you not of the position that due to that increase or because the total budget was increased beyond what was provided in the NEP submitted by the President, you still consider the entire GAA as constitutional?
Because, Your Honor, only the increase was made, has made the entire budget unconstitutional, Your Honor.
Okay. What again is questionable in adjusting the appropriation of the DPWH on the Special Road Fund, which is under automatic appropriations from 16.7 billion in the 2025 NEP to 34.7 billion in the 2025 GAA?
Your Honor, the basis of the question is with respect to the special law creating the special road fund, Your Honor. That would be Republic Act 8794 as amended by Republic Act 11239. Under that law, Your Honor, it was specifically stated, particularly Section 7 thereof, that the special road fund must be sourced from the motor vehicles motor vehicle users charge.
Okay.
And what happened in the 2025 General Appropriations Act, Your Honor, was that from 16 billion, when it went through the bicameral conference committee, it was increased into a staggering 34 billion, Your Honor. And it is our humble submission that this violated the Constitution, Your Honor.
Okay. FPJPM is not faulting the executive department, particularly the office of the president, in the increases in the SCJF allocations and the line item appropriation of the DPWH on the special road fund, is it not?
Yes, sir.
So similar to the assertions in the Lagman et al. Petition, FPJPM finds the bicameral conference committee as responsible for such upward increases in the automatic appropriations for the SAGF and the DPWH on the special road fund, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor, as reflected in the special provisions of those amendments, Your Honor.
Very well then. Thank you, counsels,
Thank you.
for answering my questions. I'm done with my interpellations regarding your client. May I call on
Thank you,
the
Your Honors.
counsels for Edgar Erice and Laila De Lima, please? So any of you may answer my questions. Erice and De Lima are not questioning the entire 2026 GAA or Republic Act number 12314, but only the constitutionality of unprogrammed appropriations, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
So their petition is not completely similar to the petitions of Lagman et al. Do you agree?
Yes, Your Honor.
And not likewise similar to the petition of FPJPM, is
Yes,
it
Your
not?
Honor.
And only related but not in the same way insofar as the petition of Pimentel III and Alvarez, which seeks to declare as unconstitutional the entire 2024 GAA, not only the unprogrammed appropriations, is it not?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. When Erice was a previous member of the House of Representatives and De Lima was serving as a senator, they did not file a similar petition before the Supreme Court, assailing the inclusion of unprogrammed appropriations in the previous year's GAA. Is it not?
They did not, Your Honor. This is the first instance.
Okay. So in other words, since 9/15/2026, the unprogrammed appropriations in the total sum of 150.9 billion has already been spent by the implementing agencies. Are your clients aware?
We have no information as
Okay.
to that, Your Honors.
And if at all, is there any report that the funding for flood control projects in the 2026 GAA ended up being pocketed by government officials or contractors, similar to allegations involving previous year's budgets?
For the
2026.
2026, Your Honor, there will be no,
No reports
expense
yet.
of that nature because the remaining items under unprogrammed appropriations are too specific, Your Honor, namely the AFP modernization program, the risk management program, and for foreign assisted projects, Your Honor, which will preclude, Your Honor, a similar expense as in the previous
Previous years. Very well then. So at this point, may I just ask the OSG to be ready regarding documents showing that the total amounts of unprogrammed appropriations in the 2024 GAA, in the 2025 GAA, and in the 2026 GAA, so far as available, were spent already, and what is the balance, if any? So I'm referring to all unprogrammed appropriations for 2024, 2025, and 2026, whatever are the items there, if these have been spent already, and if there is any balance for 2024, 25, and 26.
Yeah, noted, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. If you know, the conditions for the release of funds to finance unprogrammed appropriations have appeared in prior years' GAAs, like in the 2024 GAA and the 2025 GAA, is it not? There are conditions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So it is just the conclusion of Erice and De Lima that Section 22, which is slide 8, Article 7, was violated because unprogrammed appropriations are not supported by a BESF. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. One of the grounds is that there is no source of funding under the unprogrammed appropriations, Your Honor.
But is it not that unprogrammed appropriations actually have separate sources of funding not covered by the BESF?
Separate contingent sources of funding, Your Honor.
So, which means that when the BESF is submitted as well together with the proposed budget for a particular year, it does not cover funding for unprogrammed appropriations, is it not?
Your Honors, our position is that those conditions do not amount to the sources of funding as contemplated under Article 7, Section 22, because even the extent of that was based, Your Honor, on studies by our economic managers, and those conditions, as contained in the special provisions under unprogrammed appropriations, are generic and merely events, Your Honor, that should happen.
But you agree that when you talk about the BESF, it talks about funding program appropriations and not unprogrammed appropriations.
We agree, Your Honor, that it is just one appropriations, Your Honor.
But with respect to what is being submitted to Congress, BESF refers to or will cover largely program appropriations, because unprogrammed appropriations, as you mentioned earlier, are covered by different conditions, is it not?
That would be the ideal, Your Honor.
Okay. Is this allowing the inclusion of unprogrammed appropriations, which is the main focus of your petition, which has been included in the NEP for many years already, and which then serves as the basis of the GAB, wherein the GAB is completely the act of Congress, is doing that surrendering the constitutional prerogative given to Congress, particularly its power of the purse?
It will not be surrendering the power of the purse, Your Honor. In fact, it will strengthen Congress's exercise of the power of the purse, because by removing the unprogrammed appropriations, it will preclude delegation of the authority to appropriate to the executive department, Your Honor. And in terms of tradition or longevity of the use of unprogrammed appropriations, we have done that to the pork barrel, Your Honor. So it will not preclude the Honorable Court from considering to declare as unconstitutional as well the unprogrammed appropriations.
But do you agree that, of course, when it comes to the power of the purse, it covers not only programmed appropriations, but even unprogrammed appropriations?
If we may, Your Honor, appropriations, as this court has defined in the past, is the designation of determinate and determinable amounts. And that characteristic, Your Honor, is not present under unprogrammed appropriations, Your Honor.
Okay.
And just to add on that, Your Honor, it also supports the idea or the constitutional provision on the germane, such that it has to be, such appropriation has to be particular, unambiguous, and appropriate, Your Honor. Hence, it is our submission that it is not surrendering, but strengthening the power of the purse lodged in the Congress, Your Honor.
But when I say power of the purse, it means that the submission of the executive department through the NEP can be the subject of scrutiny of Congress, and it can exercise its power of the purse by determining which amount should be appropriated without going beyond what is provided in the NEP, is it not?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So, with respect to program appropriations, do you consider, because in your petition you mentioned that Congress, even if unprogrammed appropriations is allowed, must still comply with the non-delegation doctrine, which requires that any delegation of discretion be accompanied by sufficient standards to guide the implementing authority. So we're talking about sufficient standards. So my question is, with respect to program appropriations, do you consider the need for standards to be fixed as well by Congress to meet the requisites of proper delegation? Take note, because in non-program appropriations, before you answer, there are conditions that you put, that Congress put there before the release of any amount under unprogrammed appropriations. I'm asking is, do you still need the same kind of standard for purposes of program appropriations?
It is no longer necessary, Your Honor, because the appropriation itself is the authority given by Congress to spend that certain amount of money and bring that out of the Treasury, Your Honors.
Okay. Is it not that unprogrammed appropriations are appropriations intended for the operations of the government for a particular fiscal year?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. If unprogrammed appropriations are completely disallowed, all budgetary proposals will be considered only as program appropriations and automatic appropriations, will it not? Because you're taking out unprogrammed appropriations.
That is what we maintain, Your Honor,
Okay.
and if that is so important, it should be under programmed appropriations.
Even automatic appropriations, is that what you're saying?
Not
So we
anymore,
still-
Your Honor, because we are talking about just the budget submitted by the President for the operations of the government, and the automatic appropriations have already been allocated amounts for by law as well, Your Honor.
Okay. So if we only have program appropriations and automatic appropriations, then the funding for these appropriations will all be based on the BESF, is it not?
As contemplated by the Constitution, yes, Your Honor.
Will this not limit the capability of the government to spend, since we do not expect that all revenue collections will be sufficient to cover all program and automatic appropriations?
No, Your Honor. As mentioned during the last hearings, Your Honor, there is also a supplemental budget or special appropriations, such that if there is a need, the Congress, Your Honor, may meet and convene and enact a special appropriations for particular purposes, Your Honor.
But you know already the process insofar as supplemental appropriations or special appropriations are concerned, that it goes through the same legislative mill, passing through the House and then going to the Senate, is it not?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you very much, counsels. I'm done with my interpellations regarding your client.
Thank you
May
very
I-
much, Your Honors.
Honor.
May I just call on the Honorable Senator Drilon to the podium. Former Senate President Frank Drilon.
Good morning, Your Honor. Yes.
Magandang umaga po. On the BICAM Conference Committee, do you find any provision in the Constitution that authorizes its creation by Congress or the Legislative Department?
None, Your Honor, but it is born out of necessity because the versions of both houses would not usually be.
It was pointed out that that mechanism is not deficit neutral.
Okay. I think Belica is about the pork barrel, and Araulio versus Aquino is
It's
about the
PDAF.
yes. Are you saying then that when you were a member of the House of Representatives as a legislator, did you raise this issue about unprogrammed appropriations being rendered inoperative since there is no surplus or excess in revenue collections to begin with?
Well, in fact, to be perfectly honest, we were never really concerned about it because it never came up in
Okay.
the discussions of Congress, because really the focus was on program appropriations, because under the Constitution, the program of appropriations is funded by the BESF, and it contains the NEP, or the President's budget. So that was really the focus of discussion, and now we realize that unprogrammed appropriations don't really figure in the debates, because what they at most do is authorize general expenditures, but insofar as identifying sources of financing, these are dependent on fiscal events happening in the future, post-enactment,
Okay.
and during budget execution, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so it is correct to say then that when you were budget secretary or head of the Department of Budget and Management, you did not ask President Aquino then not to submit a NEP that contained unprogrammed appropriations? Because your
not
focus
during
was
budget
different.
submission, Your Honor.
Yes, okay. So as former DBM Secretary during the Aquino administration, did you have the opportunity to convey to President Aquino then that ang program appropriations in the national budget submitted during his term are fiscally or financially unsound?
No, Your Honor, because
Okay.
in fact, I think I recall having utilized the mechanism
Okay.
insofar as drawing from surplus dividends coming from the GOCCs then. But these were not big amounts, Your Honor.
Okay. Was there any occasion during the administration of President Aquino that he vetoed any provision in the budget bill presented to him for his signature?
I do not recall,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Would you agree that projects, activities, or programs or PAPs under unprogrammed appropriations require closer monitoring or scrutiny as compared to the PAPs under program appropriations?
Compared to the program appropriations, which have identified sources of financing, and which contains the national expenditure program, which is really the president's budget, they have been given more scrutiny because unprogrammed appropriations, while they contain authorized general expenditures approved by Congress, they never really had identified sources of financing and were dependent on fiscal events that really hardly happened as a general fiscal occurrence, Your Honor. So therefore, it was the program appropriations that was really the focus of attention in the budget process.
Okay. So in order to come up with what you refer to as a comprehensive framework for managing the nation's finances, do you have any institutional safeguards in mind to protect public funds from being stolen or pocketed by unscrupulous public officials, individuals, or contractors?
Well, what has been unprecedented insofar as the abuse of or the diversion of PAPs from, let's say, program appropriations has been just this past 3 years, Your Honors, in 2023, when something like 397 billion were taken from program appropriations. In 2024, when the amount of about 564 billion were all taken from the program appropriations and diverted somewhere. And finally, in 2025, when 497 billion from program appropriations were also reprogrammed.
Okay.
So those are really unprecedented in my experience insofar as budgeting is concerned. And I think they had little to do with unprogrammed appropriations, but more to do with pooling public funds over which legislators had full control and diversion. And if ever unprogrammed appropriations was mentioned, I think it was more to cover up for that pool of funds over which they had full discretion and maybe to create an assurance which has no basis for telling the public that we are taking these funds and putting them in unprogrammed appropriations because in the future we may be able to find money to finance them. And perhaps that may have happened and that may have been the reason why in the 2024 GAA, that was amended and a general provision 1D was included, which resulted in the extraction of cash from PhilHealth and PDIC. And I think that is the only consequence I saw in the adoption of the unprogrammed appropriations during that time, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Secretary. I'm done with my interpellation. Salamat po.
Salamat din po.
Jos Mamahes, in your presentation, it is your position that the government is spending too little and the effect thereof are in a three-bladed